So in your kits, you should have all got some pots, some compost, some seeds in a packet, a pencil, a label, and your instructions. So what we're looking to do is to grow a sunflower, and we're going to see who can make the tallest sunflower. Some of you might have already started doing this at home. If you haven't, I'm just going to give you a brief demonstration of what you need to do, and then we'll have a chat about sunflowers and what we can use them for and things like that. Okay, so to start off with, we need to get our compost out of our bag. I've got a tray here. I don't know if you can see the tray. A bit like those of you who work in the garden centre will see the trays that we use. So we're going to pour the compost out onto the tray. And you should have all had 3 pots. Some of you will have had the terracotta round ones. Some of you will have had some square pots. We're going to fill the pots with compost. And a bit like when you're sieving flour with Elizabeth, you need to just run it through your fingers just to get some of the lumps out of it. If you've got any lumps, we'll put them to one side. Once your pot's nearly full, tap it down to settle the compost, and then we need to find our seeds. Now the seeds are quite small. Hopefully they all got to you okay. You should have all at least had about 5 or 6 seeds in your packet. So open up your seeds carefully. And they're a little white seed. Okay. Now from that little white seed, you are going to be able to grow sunflowers that are as tall as Ben, if you look after them and care for them properly. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put 1 or 2 seeds in each of your pots. So in your little pot, I'm going to use my finger, just going to make a little hole and then push the seed down into the compost and then cover him over. I'm going to put 2 in my pot. Okay, so there they are in the pot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit more compost on the top just to make sure they're nice and tucked in. When you've done all 3 of your pots, then you're going to need to water it, because plants like us need water, feed and warmth. So they'll need the sun, they'll need a drink, and they'll need us once it's germinated. We'll need to start feeding them as well, but we'll talk about that later on. So I've got a nice little watering can here, and mine's got this attachment on the end which we call a rose, which means it comes out as a fine spray. So we're going to water it in and then let the water drain through. Whilst the water's draining through the bottom of the pot, we can write our label. So you should have all had a pencil and some labels, and you're going to write sunflower on it. If you're not sure how to spell sunflower, have a look at the front of the packet that I gave you, and it's written on there. Once you've written it on, I want you to turn it over, and I want you to write your name on the back. That's most important for those of you who are sowing the seeds in your houses, because you'll need to be able to identify who's sown what seeds, so you know which is your plant and see which one grows to the tallest. Okay, you might want to put the date on the back as well, because that way you can judge whether or not your seed should have germinated in 2 to 3 weeks time. So write the seed name and pop it in your pot. Push it down so it doesn't blow out in the wind. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put them in a warm place to germinate. Now some of you have got greenhouses. I know Leah has, because she's told me about her strawberries in the greenhouses. So you can put it in your greenhouse, or if you're in a house, you can put it on a windowsill, a sunny windowsill where it's going to get lots of daylight. Okay, if you put it on a windowsill in a house, put a saucer or something underneath it so that you don't damage the windowsill, because we don't want anybody getting told off for making stains on their windowsills. Okay, So hopefully, if you follow those instructions, you'll end up with 3 pots like this that you can then put to one side on your windowsills or in your greenhouses. But I'm going to need you to look at them every day when it's like this, probably every other day when it's a bit cooler, and make sure you water it, because that seed's going to need water to help it germinate. And hopefully in about 7 to 14 days, depending on how warm it is, you'll start seeing the sunflower emerge. Then once the sunflower gets quite tall, we'll talk about putting it out into the garden or putting them into bigger pots so they can continue to grow to their full height. Okay, do you want to unmute me then? Unmute them, Ernie.
No, not here.
Has anybody got any questions on the planting of your sunflower seeds?
Yeah.
Anybody already done it?
I got one for you, Becca.
Yeah, okay then, Leah.
When you, I got a greenhouse. I could do it in the greenhouse. Can I?
Of course you can. Yeah, that's no problem at all, Leah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions?
No.
How do I get the key, Rebecca? The kit.
How do you get the kit? They were sent out by Mike. So if you haven't got one, I'll speak to Mike and see how we can get one to you.
Mike. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Who else hasn't got one?
No one,
Dan hasn't got
Rebecca.
one.
I got one.
I haven't got one.
Okay.
Okay,
Who
we'll
else didn't
get
have a
that
kit?
sorted for you early next week. Okay, guys?
I got one.
So Dan hasn't got one and Lizzie hasn't got one.
No, I
Anybody
haven't
else
got one
got
yet.
No, but I'll send you Dan's address because I think it's too much.
Doing that, darling.
Diana, did Bridge House get some?
Yes, we did. But we planted them and things like animals have attacked them.
Okay, so long as you got them, that's good. Did you
Okay,
plant it the right way up?
Does anybody know anything about sunflowers?
No.
No?
Looks like
They're Rachael's favourite, Rebecca.
Sorry, Dan?
They're Rachael's favourite, Rebecca.
They are. And they're a bright yellow flower. And when we get to the point where they start growing, if you watch them during the day, they'll follow the sun round. They'll turn. So you'll be able to see them following the sun as the sun goes around your garden to wherever you put them.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Some of you might have had sunflower for breakfast.
No, I've even checked the cereal packet.
Who had, yeah, they could be in your muesli.
I tried that.
Who
No.
had toast? Who had toast for breakfast?
me.
Ah,
Yes, we did.
did any of you put something like this on your toast?
Yeah.
Marmite.
Or this is called flora buttery.
Oh,
So this
yes.
is made from the oil of the sunflower
we-
seed.
Oh,
So
Flora.
The
Yes.
sunflower seeds that we've sown, similar ones are squashed to make oil, which you might use in your cooking. Okay, so you might have used it in your stir fry or whatever it was you cooked, or they might make it into spread.
We
You'd
do,
put on
we
your
do.
toast. Those of you who work in the garden centre, we sell sunflower seeds for bird food, don't we?
The window behind you, I couldn't think what it was.
Certainly Ben and Leah and those of you who work in the plant centre will have topped up the bird food bins, and one of those would have been sunflowers.
I know that, boy, but
Yeah, well done, Ben. Ben's got sunflower spray.
hey,
Who's that there?
That's
What?
Jenny.
Oh, Jenny's got sunflower spray. Brilliant.
Wow.
I got the surgery.
Yeah. Well done.
It's,
Sunflowers have been around for a very, very long time. 3,000 years before Christ. Do you know what that means?
No.
So that means before Jesus was born, 3,000 years before that, they were growing sunflowers. So if you think we're in 2020, if we put 3,000 before Christ and 2020 after, That means they've been growing for over 5,000 years. So they're a very, very old plant.
That's a lot.
Oh.
Okay? Very long time, isn't it?